Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gamer Dad channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. First of all, compliments of the season. Merry Christmas, belated, Happy New Year in advance. Hopefully, we all are kicking and get to see the new year, or depending on when you're watching this video, just wanted to say season's greetings to all of you. Today's video, we have to tackle something that I think I tackled once in a very, very old video of mine regarding the Division and the Division franchise. I didn't go into a lot of detail with this aspect because it didn't necessarily affect my gameplay, and that's because I play mostly the PvE in the Division game. But another thing a lot of people didn't necessarily know, or I haven't shared a lot of in this channel, is in the end game of the Division 1, I basically spent my time running through the Dark Zone and engaging the PvE, taking landmarks, looting, and all of that. That was pretty much what I did for the remainder of the game. In fact, it was almost a natural progression that even if you were a PvE player, you made your way into the Dark Zone and you enjoyed pretty much that difference in the way it was set up in an informal way and all of the above. But there was a big issue that affected everybody, whether it be PvE or PvP players, or people who were there for even both, aspects of the experience, and that's cheating. Cheating in the Division game has been a huge issue since the franchise pretty much first launched itself. A lot of times you're going to see problems from people that will basically be using all kinds of different, kinds of cheating proxies. On PC, which is where I played the later part of my Division experience from the first game, the cheating was based on hacks and people basically shooting through walls, doing all kinds of different things, speed hacks, hacks that basically, prevented them from dying or even losing health and engaging in the PvP. Now, this was also something that really did remove what the interest would have ever even been for me even thinking about trying PvP ever in my Division experience. Sometimes you barely want to dabble into the PvP, run around, chase people around the servers, but on PC, it was really bad when you're chasing a phantom that can just hit you through a wall and you don't necessarily know where they are. You're just walking through one DZ, they'll probably shoot you from DZ1 and hit you somewhere in DZ3, and that was pretty much the end of it. So for me, PvP was not necessarily even my forte, so for me to even start to, stress about it was even much more of an issue. I remember one time, an agent that was from somewhere in South Asia, agent, I can't remember, his real name, but he had this very interesting gamer tag and he was very good at the Division game. I mean, he was pretty much giving me a lot of the orientation as to how to effectively play the PvP. And once in a while, I'll actually run into Dark Zone with him for PvP. Now, I've never mentioned this story to anybody. Now, for some of you who are thinking, but you don't play PvP in Division, I'm like, well, I did, but I just don't like talking about it because, I'm not necessarily too committed. But in my initial days of wanting to get into the PvP, the biggest problems that I did face, especially when running with more experienced people, were the cheaters, especially in those servers where, we would have to basically run in there and try to deal with, some of the enemy NPCs and some of the different agents as well. You would find out that some people were able to do some really crazy stuff. Now, first of all, the ways that they were able to cheat was they were able to use a lot of the different broken aspects of the construction in terms of the Dark Zone, where they were able to run into rooms and pretty much just hide in the back of the map that wasn't existent. But then you also had the people that would basically be breaking the game in different places. And so for the longest time, I basically resigned myself to just playing PvE because that's kind of what interested me anyways. It wasn't, no one was forcing me to play, PvP. So I decided to just go ahead and do that. Now, what's even worse was towards the end of the life of the Division 1, on console, the cheating even found itself there with people using all kinds of different programs like Cronus Max and some of the others. Apparently, these are devices or these are software. I don't even know what they are, honestly, in terms of describing them. I do know you can get Cronus Max on like a flash drive or something like that, and it helps you to be an aimbot or something like that, and you're able to compete and destroy people. And even currently in the Division 2, this is still the story. A lot of people are still talking about how this has pretty much polluted the game to a specific extent, which kills the fun and kills the enjoyment. So, in my estimation and in my opinion, for those of you who are in the software side of things, you have basically shared over time in terms of community forums how Massive can prevent this by building their infrastructure differently. Because apparently, even with the anti-cheats that they set up, it seems like the system is quite porous for cheaters to be able to make their way into it. Now, cheaters gonna cheat. They always do. They always find ways to do so, to break the game. In some cases, they just want to be goofballs, and all the other things. But one thing I don't necessarily agree with, Massive and the way they do things in dealing with cheaters is the lack of consistency. Because as much as I've been having these conversations, I remember a lot of people saying that they've reported a lot of cheaters by gamertag, and they still continue to see them in the dark zone. They never get banned. They never get the punitive aspect of it. And this has been an issue, and this even reared its head too, even in the time where we had that damage glitch where Massive basically rolled back the progress of some people and did not roll back the progress of some other people who cheated, like Marco Style. Marco Style basically came out and said, well, he also used the damage hacks and basically, speed leveled himself up to prepare for the raids, and Massive didn't do anything about it. They didn't suspend his account. They didn't do anything. But some other people that were in his friend circle that ran around with him, I think another one called Sleepy Yo or something, that one said he did the hacks and he got the suspension and the rollbacks. And, this was something that was quite inconsistent that really did make the community, find themselves in a tizzy. So I think even if you can say any software that's built can always be bypassed, in terms of gaming, especially in gaming that it does affect other players in a sense, maybe, you're getting an advantage over any other player because if you max out your character, you're able to be stronger in the dark zone, or you're able to get items that another person who's following the real progression can't get. I think the punitive measures need to be consistent. I think they need to make sure that the consistency is there every single time. And I think this is something that they missed an opportunity for because they never corrected this behavior from the Division 1 in terms of making sure that they were consistent in punishing people who were actually cheating. They took that same aspect into the Division 2, and then it got out of hand. It pretty much wiped out a lot of the goodwill that the developers themselves had already gained and garnered with the community. Now, here's the challenge. Who calls the shots on how to treat these issues? Who calls the shots on how to actually take care of the situations or the cases where we find out that there are cheaters in the game? I think that person or whoever the people that make those decisions are, I think they can learn a very big lesson, because if you do not handle cheating in your game, it can actually destroy a lot of things, not just the experience of other players, but even your own, work and hard work that you have done and your developers have done. Because I guarantee you, no developer is developing their game going in there, hoping that anybody will come in there and just find a bug in their system. But again, you have QA testers, and sometimes they miss things. And I think the only way that you can curtail that is making sure that once you get any reports, there is a system in place that makes sure that that report is actually something that's valid and extends basically the hand of the hammer to whoever the proxies are that are doing that cheating. By the time you ban a few accounts, like straight up permaban them, I think it's going to send a really huge message. Some people are not going to hear. They're going to continue to do all kinds of crazy stuff just so that they can appear cool. But at the end of the day, I think, it will really send a message, and you can curtail those issues even on some other platforms like even console. Because right now, the way Chronos Max is actually designed, I think there are all kinds of different loopholes or whatever it is that people can use to justify that system itself. And so sometimes I think, Massive doesn't necessarily want to get their hands in there. Because I've also heard that, some of the, software like Chronos Max and the others have other uses that are not actually designed to be used to cheat, but actually they were designed for helping people who may have had specific, kinds of disabilities in gaming, but somehow, somewhere, it's become this fad where people are using it over, other games in terms of competitive shooting to be able to gain the advantage. So this is a very deep and complex issue that has to be addressed. Now, I made this video also because, the Division Heartland is on the horizon. And if the Division Heartland is anything that we think it is, basically a PvP experience of some kind, and then even a PvE experience, it's going to be much more important that this is something that's looked at very closely. And if the Division Heartland is being developed in the Snowdrop engine, then it even needs to be looked at much more closely than ever. Because if cheating makes its way into Heartland, it's going to ruin the entire experience, because Heartland is going to be a free-to-play experience. And I think the developers really need to have a stronger hand to deal with these issues, because as a free-to-play game, there's at this point necessarily no need to start holding anybody's hand, because if you're bringing it as a free-to-play game, everyone is free to play or free not to play. So I really think that they need to address this issue very early and not carry the same apathy. In terms of my own opinion anyways, I think it was quite apathetic the way that they treated cheating from the past games, even through Division 2. I need to make sure that they nip this attitude in the bud that some people bring into the game to destroy other players' experiences. But anyways, these are my thoughts nonetheless. I want to hear what you think in the comment section. How do you think cheating needs to be handled in the Division game? Talk to me. Hopefully we'll talk soon. Peace out.